now we had to figure out what was next because we were still 2.5 million over budget. So now we had to continue with the value engineering exercise, and that value engineering exercise was now being done with Dentons. One of the issues here currently was Dentons are a design and build firm whereby we've been doing this project in the traditional sense. I don't know if you've watched some of my earlier videos when I talked about the difference between a traditional route and a design and build route. In retrospect now, knowing what I know now, knowing what Richard knows now, we should never, ever, ever had gone down the traditional route. And as these episodes go on, I will explain in more and more detail why traditional, in my opinion, is dead. Everybody doing a project should always do design and build. I will explain this in more detail as other episodes are formed. So we're in a situation now where we've taken on our contractor. We now need to sit down with them and we need to plan the next steps. The contractor will assign their own project manager. On one of the projects, we met one of their project managers and Nick and I took a liking to him. So we decided to request this particular person to be the project manager on our project. So just before Christmas, we all met. Everybody met everybody introduced themselves, and the next steps were determined. And ultimately what Dentons were expecting from us was a completed stage 4 pack, that detailed pack that basically we hand over and Dentons then design their construction from it, like how we're going to do it, how we're going to put this design into action. Now with our architectural team, we have paid to go up to stage 5, which is the construction drawings. Now Dentons will have to produce construction drawings as well, but because we're going down the traditional route, it's still our architect's responsibility to produce those construction drawings. So Dentons will work alongside the architect will produce the drawings, and then it will go back to Dentons. However, through several meetings going back and forth, it turns out that our team hasn't actually coordinated our design properly. What do I mean by that? We had lots of different consultants because we went down the traditional route. All these consultants are supposed to put their designs together and figure out if there are any clashes. Does the aircon unit clash with this particular thing? Are there lights in the way of pipes, for example? And the reason I use that example because there were lights clashing with pipes. Why the hell are there lights clashing with pipes? Right at the outset of this project, I asked one question. Like, do you guys have a computer program that you can put all of this information in and it tells you where everything goes so that there aren't any clashes and so that it's all coordinated properly? As a layperson, it's a pretty normal question to ask. The advice we were given was, no, we don't need it for this kind of project. Turns out we bloody did. And as this process went on between our team and Dentons, I could see Dentons getting more and more frustrated with our team. They were trying to keep the peace, but you could tell something wasn't right. And it turns out that the coordination on our side was terrible. There is no way we can build this design with the way it's been currently coordinated. Thankfully, on Denton's side, they introduced a technical architect who was unbelievable. And the technical architect looked at the designs and literally just by looking at certain things, figured actually this doesn't work, that doesn't work, this doesn't work, that doesn't work, and kept pinging things back to our design team. Dentons decided to go to site in early February. So we went to site in February, and a few weeks later, everything had to stop. So now we're having to pay Dentons to be on site, and very little work was being done just because our coordination was so poor, they couldn't build. And what was happening is that our team arguing Dentons coming back with their points, arguing with our team saying, well, Dentons went to site too early, they should never have gone to site in February, we were never ready. Well, hold on, if we weren't ready, when Dentons told us in their boardroom that we're going to site in February, why did none of you guys speak up? Why did none of you say, we are not ready to go on to site yet because we haven't coordinated this properly? Everybody stayed quiet. Nobody said the thing. So there was no reason for us to stop Dentons going to site in February because as far as we're concerned, we've got a good stage 4 pack. Dentons are now going to build this project. This circle went on for months, and as something called a preliminary, let me explain to you what a preliminary is. For Dentons or any contractor to be on board and to be spending time in your site every week costs money. We are having to pay this money. We've done all this value engineering to try to bring down the cost, but now all those costs are creeping back in because we've got a contractor on site who can't actually build because the drawings aren't correct. So all that value engineering we did for about 2.5 months, absolute false economy, absolute waste of time, heartbreaking. because we reduced the scope of the project so much to save money, and instead we've now ended up spending more money because we've got contractors on site who can't build. So all of that was a massive, massive waste of time and waste of money. So now we're in a pretty shit situation. Stress is through the roof, everybody's arguing with everyone. It's not a nice place to be in. Denton sat us down and basically said to us, at the moment, what's happening is we're asking for this information, this person is then telling this person is telling that person, this person is telling this person's telling this person. That basically, we need to just get rid of them all. We need to allow Dentons to introduce the design and build concept, which if you remember previously, means that Denton has its own team. Denton's has its own M&E engineers, its own fire consultants, its own building control people, its own architects, it's got everything. And they can make changes within a day. I'll give you a perfect example. Richard and I with Dentons, we went to site and we were standing in the Phantom Headroom and I had a look at our LED wall. An LED wall is a 4x2 meter massive screen that we're going to be teaching on, and it was on a particular side wall. I remember sitting there thinking, why is that on that wall? It's on the wrong wall. That should be on that wall instead. And if it's on that wall rather than being on that wall, it allows us to use this lounge space essentially as another teaching space. Because if it's on this wall, then we've got all of this space for people to sit down and watch a lecture. If it's on that wall, then we've only got minimal space. So we went back to our design team and said, we want to change the location of the TV, and our design team lost its shit a little bit, saying, oh, it's going to take 4 weeks to change it because we're going to have to move this from this and that. And at that same point, Richard and I remember looking at the technical architect, and she smirked. So we went to her and said, she goes, I can do that in 24 hours. That's the difference between traditional at this point and design and build. Design and build can get things done like this, whereby traditional, we have to speak to this person then needs to move this. You can see I'm a bit pissed off. I wanted that TV moved. 4 weeks, ridiculous. So these are some of the differences at the moment that we have noticed between traditional and design and build. Don't get me wrong, there are certain disadvantages of design and build, and I'm sure later we will experience those as well. But right now, we need to get this project built. So all that money that we've already spent with our mechanical and electrical engineers designing where all the air conditioning units, all the pipe, all the fresh air, all of that stuff, we've spent nearly 18 months designing. Turns out 95%, I will say, and I'm sure people will argue with, people are going to watch this video and say, no, Raheel, it wasn't 95%, it was 60% that was wrong. In my opinion, the bulk of it was all wrong. Dentons then had to bring their own people in to redesign 18 months of hard work, because our requirements for what we wanted with that M&E wasn't fulfilled by the design that was produced by our team. And we have spent nearly 60,000, 70,000 pounds on these guys already. And now we're gonna have to spend that money again with Dentons, trying to figure out a way where we can make the M&E work. Perfect example, in the surgeries, I wanted the surgery ceilings to be a certain height. I didn't want aircon units in the rooms. We wanted grills to allow fresh air to come through. The way our M&E guys had designed it, even though we asked them not to, they had put aircon units there and the ceilings were a lot lower than what we'd asked for. But Dentons figured out a way to do all of this. So right now, definitely team design and build and not team traditional. There are so many examples like this that I can give you, and this went on for months and months and months. Absolute heartache. Our build that should have taken about 3 months is probably going to take closer to a year, and it's going to cost even more than that additional £2.5 million that we were initially from tender 1 quoted. So to find that money is going to be very difficult. Trying our best. My cash flow statement or my cash flow spreadsheet is like all over the place at the moment, trying to figure out where we're going to get the money from. Will the bank be able to lend us this? Will this person be able to do that? Well, this went on for a while, and we sat with Dentons as well and did further value engineering and a little bit more value engineering to try to bring the cost in line with what we could afford. Certain finishes were changed, certain new things were introduced. The other good thing about Dentons was they were able to cast fresh eyes on our design, and they came out with some unbelievable, fantastic ideas as well. And they managed to find another male toilet for us. We only had 2 male toilets, but we wanted 3. They managed to find space to put a 3rd toilet in. They relocated where our locker area was going to be and create some more space by doing that as well. And if you remember, we had to have a lift inside our building, and we weren't really big fans of having that lift there because it was taking up so much space. But Dentons figured out a way to even remove that lift, and thank God they did, because that lift was costing nearly £40,000. So not only did they save us all that money, but they also managed to give us a lot more space. So all of this has been going on, and like I said, there are so many other examples of things that have happened that I can give, and I'm sure as episodes go on, as we talk more and more about this build and what's happening with this build, I will provide you with more information. So right now, where are we? We've got Dentons on board. They are building as quickly as they can whilst maintaining the quality, but they are currently limited by the coordination that has been done by our team. What happened with the project management team and the cost consultant? We sacked them. It had to be done. Should have been done probably 7 to 8 months earlier. Lesson learned, we'll never make that mistake again. So I say, who knows? But should have trusted our instincts, but we got that one wrong. They cost us a lot of time, a lot of money. Probably the most useless company I've ever worked with in my entire life. So now it's Dentons, design team, and us, and we're trying to figure out and coordinate as much as we possibly can. One of the most frustrating things has been having to revisit things over and over again. What we thought we had completed over an 18-month period had to all be redone with Dentons by our side. So all those meetings we had previously had to be had again with Dentons. The amount of time that took was unbelievable, and it's time we're never going to get back. On site at Denton's head office, sampling materials, going back to showrooms, figuring things out over and over again. Absolute nightmare. I won't say it was a nightmare, that's probably the wrong word to use, because there were parts of it that were extremely enjoyable, but nevertheless very frustrating because it all had to be done again. We should have been opened in January 25, and we probably won't be open until January 26. So that's millions of pounds over budget, and on top of that, a year delayed. What other design changes have happened since Denton came on board? I was always a little bit frustrated with our phantom headroom because of the position it was located in. When Richard and I present, we're quite animated. We like to have a bit of space, and we only had a meter of space. And I kept saying that this phantom headroom needs to move. So it was in this direction, facing this wall. I wanted to move it from this direction to that direction, facing that wall. By doing that, I was convinced we'd have a lot more space. We'd have the ability to have a second LED wall, because at the moment, facing this way, we've got 300-inch screens, but 3 screens. But everybody is sitting next to each other, and I felt they'd be a bit cramped, and I certainly, and Richard certainly, would be cramped at the front. And that's where we're going to be spending most of our time. But I kept getting told, can't be done, can't be done, can't be done. Until I literally took out the plans and measured everything. And I remember doing this on PowerPoint, literally turned it around. I went to Denton's and I said to Denton's, can this be done? They took the measurements, we measured it all out, and they're like, yeah, absolutely, it can be done. So I went back to our design team. Our design team then looked at it and said, yes, it can be done. And one of the reasons they thought it couldn't be done is because months and months and months before that, we had revisited this particular part, turning the phantom headroom the other way. But at that point, between the seminar room and the phantom head, we were planning on putting a removable wall that could have opened up. We decided against that because the acoustic consultant who we had on board told us that removable walls or foldable walls don't insulate sound as well as fixed walls. And that was the reason at that point we couldn't turn it. But I remembered that, and I remember that we were way beyond that. That wall was going to be fixed, so there was no reason why the phantom headroom couldn't be turned. So we turned it. And now all of a sudden, from having 1 meter presentation space, we ended up with 3 meters presentation space. We ended up with a 7 meter LED wall and a much more comfortable environment for our students to learn in. And honestly, if it would have stayed the other way, foreseeable future, I would have looked at it and been frustrated. I am so happy that we managed to turn that phantom headroom. And one of the things that I've learned is if you think something can be done, keep pushing for it. Until someone can absolutely convince you it can't be done, don't give up. And I've done that with every single aspect. But I have been persistent. If I think something can be done in a certain way, I want it to be done. And what I love about it is Richard's the same. If he feels as though something can be done, and we're both in that room, and you're trying to convince us that something can't be done, you better put a good argument forward, because we will figure out whether it can be done or not. So this phantom headroom relocation had to be done, and it could be done, and it was done. This LED wall in the lounge could be moved, and we moved it. So now we've got 2 beautiful LED wall displays. They're costing an absolute fortune, but 2 beautiful LED wall displays that our students are going to benefit from. Now, what other issues have we had over the last few months. In our design team's contract, they had a clause that stated that if we went over 6 months construction, which by now we had, their fixed fee that we had negotiated and agreed months ago no longer stood, and we'd have to start paying on a monthly basis. Our argument was that you've not had to do the construction drawings because Dentons are now doing construction drawings. What had happened? So from being purely traditional, we had now moved on to design and build, because Dentons told us by doing design and build, we'd get into our building a lot quicker than if we stuck with the traditional route. And at the same time, our design team are now asking for more money, which we can't afford. So we've had to then let the design team go. So now it's just Dentons and us. The design team I was really upset with going, because I'm very fond of them, and I think they produce a beautiful and amazing design. The project management team and all the consultants associated with them, they had to go. So then we found ourselves in a situation where it's just us and Dentons. And though things still started to progress a lot quicker, there were certain disadvantages that we felt of this as well. We were really exposed.